What's up, guys? So this is the first of the kind of template series that I'm going to try here, and so being the first one, I don't have this kind of systematized. I don't really have a plan yet, and a plan is going to evolve over time from feedback from you guys and just what feels right as I go through this. So I apologize in advance. I'm going to let this video be a little bit loose insofar as I might ramble, but at the same time, I'm kind of talking to myself, talking my way through this for myself as well. And so hopefully it's still going to be informative. But as time goes on, these are going to obviously become more efficient and hopefully more informative as well, especially when I get feedback from you guys telling me what it is you liked about the videos, what you don't like, and that way I'll kind of be able to make these a little bit more fine-tuned. But this is kind of how I approach it. I want to understand the music of the track, what's the key, what's the stuff like that. And then I want to kind of understand what the technical aspects of the mix are. Like, is it loud? How hard are they pushing it in mastering? Just to kind of get a sense of that sort of thing. And also what the arrangement and the structure is of the track. And that's kind of ultimately what the meat of the video is going to be here, where we're fleshing out building the template, which then you can download. And so let's get started. And I've already kind of put this onto the grid in time. The track is 126. You can get that from Beatport. So I just lined up that first transient. And let's check out the drop here. And here I have Pro Q. And this is just in case I need to just kind of listen in and figure things out. And when I kind of isolate something, the great thing about Pro Q2 down here at the bottom is I have this piano roll, so I'm kind of able to get a quicker idea of what the key is or what the pitch of certain notes are by using this EQ to help me kind of isolate certain sounds. And then of course we have the trusty Spectrum analyzer here, and that's obviously going to help us out. But let's just get a feel for the music and figure out what's going on. So the first thing I'm curious about is what is the bass line and what is going on in terms of kind of the rhythm section. And so what I'm hearing is that this whole kind of cycle is occurring over one bar. We have the lead synth following the bass synth. Okay, that's interesting. What notes are being played? Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Now I have a keyboard over here. I'm just going to listen really quick. So, bum. That's a G sharp. Bum, 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 bum. And so he's going from G sharp up to C sharp, back down to G sharp. And so that strongly suggests that this track is in G sharp minor. Dance tracks are always going to be typically like 99% of the time. I don't think I've ever analyzed a tech house track that was in a major key, but so it strongly suggests G sharp minor. And so when you go G sharp to C sharp, that's an interval of a fourth. Now I don't have to actually go to the piano to know that. When I listen back, bum 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 bum, I know that's an interval of a fourth. And if you're interested, you can develop your ear that way by just kind of memorizing intervals. So bum bum, here comes the bride, bum bum. So I know that here comes the bride, that's an interval of a fourth. Or also amazing grace, or oh come all ye. These are all intervals of a fourth. So when I hear that bum 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 bum, I know that's an interval of a fourth. Now, a couple interesting things here is that I've been noticing a pattern where in tech house tracks you're going to have these one bar loops, and then the peak melodic moment is going to happen halfway through the bar, which is exactly what happens here. So that halfway through the bar right here, that's when we get that highest note, the fourth scale degree of G minor. And other than that, it's just G sharp flatlining. So G sharp, it jumps up to the C sharp for melodic leap, a little bit of excitement, and then it jumps back down to the G sharp again. But because it happens in the middle like that, it's a very nice cycle within the bar. It's able to repeat in a very smooth way. It kind of creates like a wave, like a cycle. And that's interesting. Now the fourth scale degree is a huge tension point in when you're in an established key. The fourth interval is actually a very consonant interval in isolation, but once you establish the key of the track, it becomes very dissonant, which is kind of interesting. We can go into that if you want, but this is not the time to go into music theory. But the fourth interval, or the fourth scale degree, is one of the most popular notes to use as a tension tone when you're doing melodic leaps in tech house. So a lot of the times you're going to jump to the fourth interval. There's the Solardo track on the corner. It goes ba-na, bum, ba-na, ba-na, bum, ba-na. Okay, that's the bass line. And you're going 3-1, 3-4-1. Okay, so that tension, that moment where you kind of lift up as that tension moment before you're brought back down again, that's the fourth scale degree. And so that just gives you something to play with. Like if you're ever just like, let me do a melodic leap, I need to add some excitement to the bass line, try the fourth scale degree. It's definitely going to work. And it works here. That's what the bass line is. This bass line in its basic form is a leap up to the fourth scale degree and a leap down to the fourth scale degree. And everything else is just rhythmical interest, but that's what it boils down to. And so this is very interesting. I guess I'll talk about it here. There's another track, Camel Fat's Drop It. Let me go pull that track in. Different tempo though, but that's okay. I'm just going to set this to the transient forward mode because it's a slower tempo, and so that just means it's not going to play the full sample back, but that should not cause very many problems. So if we listen to the Camel Fat track, let's go get it on the start here. All right, and so with the Camel Fat track, you see that it's the exact same thing. It's one bar, it's a one bar loop, and then the melodic peak happens in the middle. Okay, so we can be more precise about this. In the B sharp say not track by Patrick Topping, the melodic peak and that interval leap happens right at the halfway point. So right here on the second strong beat. So here's the first strong beat, here's the first weak beat, the second strong beat, the second weak beat. Or this is also, you know, the third beat. And so if we come over here, so that peak moment happens right on the eighth note. Now, in the Camel Fat track, it's the exact same idea. You have a one bar cycle with a melodic peak happening around the halfway point. What they do, though, is they have it just before, so it's right around here. But it's the exact same thing. It's just an interval leap. It's just a quick moment of excitement before you brought back down to the home base, to the tonic. All right. Now the Solardo track, or not the Solardo, yeah, no, this is Camel Fat. Sounds a lot like Solardo though, doesn't it? Although it's not the same kind of bass mixing. But theirs leaps up to a seventh. I think it goes from E to D. Okay, that's another dissonant interval. And so we're just going, it's going from pure consonants, and I say pure, not in a technical way, but pure because it's literally the tonic. And so if anything's going to be consonant, it's going to be consonant to itself, right? Especially if that's the key. And so it's just staying on that perfect consonance, just pushing forward the key of the track. So in the case of the B sharp say not, that's the G sharp, and I think Camel Fat is in D or E, one of those. But both of them are just sitting on that note. They're just sitting on that note, and then the bass line momentarily takes you away to some dissonance and then brings you right back. And so that going to the dissonant interval and then going quickly in a leap fashion and then right back down, that also creates excitement. So there's two things going on: that melodic leap, that quick melodic leap, and the leap to the dissonance, back to the perfect consonance, is interesting. And they both happen at exactly around the center point of the bar. And so, you know what I mean? I mean, there are things here to be analyzed and things to be learned. And so, you know, that definitely is something to take away. And so you can come up with your own baseline, right? So if we just come over to, so this is kind of more important to the video, or the spirit of the video, which is when you're composing your own stuff, compositional. It's very quick, you know, like just come up with something very similar. Let's go to a bar here. And so I just want an area where there's no bass line. And so you could just go get like operator or something like that. And let's just say we're in, let's just come up with our own bass line for, I'm going to delete the camel fat track for now because we've exhausted the information. So let's just stay on G here. And let's go to 16ths. So, I don't know, you could do anything, right? So, bump, bump. So let's just do a simple bass line here, the 3/16. Okay, so then what if we just wanted to create an exciting moment, because accenting this beat is actually kind of an unusual thing to do, because you need to make so much room for the kick drum right here. Or we could do what Camel Fat does and jump to the 7th. So the 7th would be F sharp here. Or we can make it more interesting, maybe like, let's maybe just pitch bend this down, so it's kind of like a smooth, it's like an exciting leap up to the top, but then a smooth transition back down, right? Okay, and then what we could do though is come over here and change this down to 2. Ableton's freaking out on me. There we go. Or we can even change it to 7, right? Because we're going up to 7. So what if we just have it pitch bend right back down to the tonic? All right, something like that. And so I'm hearing this like maybe something like, and so now I'm changing it up and making it more complicated, and I'm deviating away from the simplicity of the Camel Fat and the Patrick Topping track, but I'm hearing bump, 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 which would be kind of cool because this note rising up here is anticipating the much, it's setting up the much higher rise. And see, so this is just an example of you learning something from a track and then applying the knowledge, you know? And so let's see where that bass line is sitting. So let's just make it a little bit louder really quick, and then we can move on to the arrangement. But this is literally what I would do. I would come in here, analyze these tracks, and just start playing with shit, you know? Let's change this to a different filter type, because then I can get access to the what's it called, the drive here, the filter drive, and so that's always fun to play with. And I'd rather drive the filter to get volume than just use simple clean gain. You know, it just makes it more interesting. And let's bring the filter down. Maybe we can introduce a little bit of swing or something, you know. Bring actually the volume up here. Alright, cool. And then so a little bit of swing. What if also we tried something like this? This is kind of going against what I was talking about with the exciting leap up, but what if we swoop up into that? And so this kind of pitch bend anticipates the excitement there, so it actually kind of makes it more exciting. So what if we have the kind of drop down? No, I don't like that. And what if we smooth this out a little bit? See, so I mean, it's literally just I'm coming in here and having fun with trying different things out. And so what if we did this? So maybe actually all right, that's pretty cool. What if we kind of extend some of these notes? So that's pretty cool, right? And then let's see what else we can do. But I think that's pretty much the gist of what I would, you know, that'd be fun to just kind of experiment with. Give it a little bit more tone here. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to go to belabor that point, but I'll go ahead and just save this. But it's just an example of, you know, this is a cool pattern I saw, and let me kind of experiment that. I did add an extra level of complexity by adding in that second note, but or the third note rather. But I think that third note helped kind of make that huge leap a little bit more digestible. See, so stuff like that. All right, so that's pretty cool. So just getting a handle on the musical aspects of the track. And so let's just keep going here. So we saw that we are in, let's just write it on this track right here. So we're in G sharp minor. Okay, and then we saw that the bass line is an interval of a fourth. And just really quick, let's just experiment with that idea. The interval of a fourth. So right here I took the camel fat idea and jumped up to the seventh, but let's just jump up to the fourth right here. So in the key of G sharp, that's going to be C sharp. And then what we need to do is actually go over here and change the pitch bend value. Let's just go back down to, we can go to 5, because 5 is going to be the chromatic definition of a fourth. And so it's much smoother, right? It's not as exciting. it's just different. It's just a different level of excitement when you mess around with these notes. Obviously, a larger melodic leap is going to yield a more kind of exciting feel, and so I'm kind of used to that now. So I think the energy of that bass line better matches the excitement in the kind of tops. And so while this does kind of soften that leap, it softens it too much here. Actually, that's kind of cool with the 7 right here dropping down from that note. I don't know, they're both cool, right? And I think so, at least. And again, it's just experimenting with the different ideas and trying to make them work and see how you can use them in your own unique ways. And so that's what I would do. I would come in here, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm literally analyzing this track, and so I just would want to experiment with that idea. And just so like later on, that's just another tool in the shed that you could pull out if you're stuck, or if you just have fun and want to experiment, starting with kind of a theoretical grain of seed or whatever. But let's just keep going, all right? Cool, so we got the bass line, and let's just see what else is going on. So if we come over here, we can see, okay, well, what's the kick? The kick is a C, which is interesting. Yeah, kick is definitely a C, and so it's kind of out of key. Now, I personally like to keep things in key, maybe because I'm neurotic and it makes me feel psychologically weird to do it, but I think it does sound better when things are in key. And so it seems like this kick is in C. C is not in the key of G sharp minor. It is in the key of G sharp major, but we're definitely not in G sharp major. Maybe we are. Anyway, it's hard to say, just because that would mean that the fourth could still be, it would be a D flat instead of a C sharp. Oh no, that's not true. G sharp would be, the third of G sharp is B sharp. That's why it's an awkward key. It's much preferable to say A flat. Anyway, so we could be in G sharp major, but let's just say we're in G sharp minor. So typically, some producers don't really care if their drums are all in tune. I've heard even Steve Duda say stuff like this, and Steve Duda is like the god for me. And yeah, so this is maybe a little bit out of key here, but it sounds good, so who gives a shit? Another thing that's super interesting here is the kick is a C. It's a 65 hertz. That's interesting. Some tracks go an octave below this, like around 30 to 35 hertz. Now that's rare, but it's not as rare as having a kick sitting at like 65, because it's not very powerful. The reason why you're able to get away with this here is because the track has so much energy that letting it float a little bit higher makes actually a little bit more sense. If you want it something deeper, it's harder to create that level of energy that this track has. So it makes sense that's a little bit higher in the spectrum. Just the whole song is a little bit higher in the spectrum. And you can see the filtering probably down from 60. And now this is interesting too, because the bass is a G sharp. Okay, so it's just playing a G sharp, going up to the fourth, C sharp, and then coming back down. And so what's interesting here is when we look at the bass notes, so here we have one bass note here that's pretty prominent. This is a bass harmonic. I shouldn't say bass note, it's a bass harmonic sitting at D sharp. And what I mean is that it's not a bass note because that D sharp is not being played. It's the G sharp that's being played, and D sharp is one of the harmonics of the G sharp bass line. Now, what does that mean? I don't want to get too in depth here, because I can certainly make a video. If you have any questions, let me know. But a saw wave or like a frequency modulated sine wave is going to follow, at least initially, the order of harmonics. A saw wave is definitely going to follow the harmonics because it has all the harmonics, has all the the odd and even harmonics. So the first harmonic is going to be the fundamental. So if we're playing a G sharp note, obviously that first harmonic is going to be G sharp. And then the next harmonic of the bass line, or not the bass line, the bass sound, is going to be another G sharp. So we have G sharp, then an octave up G sharp, and then the next note after that is going to be the D sharp, which would be the fifth. And so those are going to be the first three harmonics. Then we're going to get another G sharp. So we have G sharp, G sharp, D sharp, G sharp. And so, and then we're going to get the third. And so we see here that this is the D sharp. So this is the third harmonic in the bass. And so if we're at G sharp, that means the third harmonic is going to be that D sharp around 155, and the second harmonic is going to be the G sharp around 103. And so we can see a hint of this harmonic right here. Right there. And then, okay, and so that means that the lowest is going to be the G sharp at 51.5 hertz about. So that's going to be somewhere over here. But we see that it's completely filtered out, okay, and which is really interesting. So the fundamental of the bass is one of the most quiet notes in the bass. So what I'm going to do is pull up a spectrogram just to show you that the fundamental is actually there, is just very quiet because of the intense filtering in this track. Okay, so right there, you see that line right there? That is one of the bass harmonics, and that is sitting right around, right there, right at 51 hertz, which is the G sharp. And so you can see how quiet it is because it's a softer orange, and the brighter the yellow kind of thing, that means that the louder it is. So you can see that these two harmonics right here, the next G sharp, so around 103 hertz, and then the D sharp above that, those are going to be the two harmonics that are emphasized in this bass line. But I just wanted to show that this is a G sharp. The fundamental is there. It's just really quiet because of the filtering that's applied on the bass. And so I'm not sure how I got on this tangent. I think it's interesting nonetheless. But yeah, we're playing a G sharp in the bass, and it seems to me that the kick is a C. And again, that's okay, whatever. You know, I prefer to keep things in tune just because I'm very OCD, and that might just boil down to psychology. But this track obviously works, right? Okay, cool. This is a little bit maybe advanced, but you can see this note pop up right here, especially on that octave leap. And so what that means that this is the third harmonic of that leap note. And so if you have the third harmonic of the leap note, what is the third harmonic always? It's the fifth, because you have the first harmonic, or the fundamental, then you have an octave of the fundamental, then you have the fifth. And so if we know that the second note of the bass line is a C sharp, then what is the third harmonic of C sharp? Is G sharp. And so what do we have here? We have a G sharp. Okay, so that's just another thing to kind of give to you guys and to digest. Some of you may know it, some of you may not, but if you have any questions, definitely ask, because I think it's important to understand things at that level, have that deep understanding, whatever. And so let's keep on going. And so I think the music theory is pretty simple. I mean, that the synth is just playing one note. It's not a chord. It's just a single note. It's very distorted. And then the filter opens up. And it's doing exactly what the bass is doing. It's doing exactly what the bass is doing. And then the filter just opens up there and lets through all that kind of pre-filtered distortion. So you can do something like that with the filter drive in Sylenth. You can do that with anything, you know, like a massive, you could do that. You could set the inserts to distortion and then do it pre-filter. Serum, of course, you could do pre-filter distortion. Yeah, just anything. And also white noise could probably contribute to that mess of sound up at the top, which sounds really cool and fat and powerful and exciting. But that's pretty much it for the music aspects of this. Nothing too complex, just 1/4 bass line happening in a bar where the peak melodic moment happens halfway through the bar, and it's just that interval leap. We could reduce the bass line down to a simple interval leap, jumping up to the 4th and coming back down very quickly. And then the kick sitting at C, which is interesting, but that's okay. And then knowing that the fundamental of the bass is present, it's just heavily filtered out because the track isn't trying to be deep, it's trying to be exciting. And so it makes sense that they wouldn't want to include those really deep tones, because that deep tone is going to weigh the track down as opposed to lighten the track up and kind of raise the excitement level. It also allows the track to be a lot louder by filtering out those lower frequencies, because those lower frequencies take up so much headroom and energy in the mix. And so that's kind of where we're headed to next. Let's just get an idea of what the technical aspects of the track are. And so obviously L2 isn't doing anything because this track is already mastered, but I just keep L2 on there when I'm producing because I like to produce at mastering level. And so you guys probably are not familiar with the information you can gather out of this. You might be, but you can see that when you have yellow, bright yellow, that means that it's loud. And as you can see, the loudest sections are just kind of those couple bass harmonics, the second and third bass harmonics, and a kick. Everything else is pretty flat. So if we come over to the spectrogram, we can see exactly this same picture. We have here, we have the excitement happening in this low end right around here, exactly what this is depicting right here. And then we just kind of have this flat kind of ceiling to the mid-range and high end, which is exactly the picture that we're getting here. We're not getting any bright yellow. We do have this right here, which seems to be peaking out, and then that's probably corresponding to this sound right here. Actually, yeah, corresponding to this sound right here. And so it's interesting, what is that sound? Let's just check it out. So that's just your... And so, you know, that's 3K. 3K is one of the loudest sounds to our ears. And so it's interesting that 3K in the tops is really pushed forward, because that really, those tops, the ch-ch-ch-ch-ch in this track really drive the track. Those tops really drive it. And so it's interesting to me, and to take something away from this, that what I could do to do this, to replicate this kind of thing, is to maybe take like the tops bus or the drums bus and filter everything down to the 3K area, maybe distort that range and then mix that in. Because if you do that, you're going to get this constant presence at the 3K range. So the track's going to sound loud, it's going to sound energetic, and it's going to drive. And that's exactly what is going on here. Now that's probably not what he's doing. He's probably there's just like one sound that's really helping drive, and we can actually see that it's really just that hi-hat. There's just a really present sound, and we can see that it's hi-hat because the energy is focused right at the transient of the hi-hat. That we can see that in the spectrogram. And so, I mean, just boosting an EQ in that range on the open hat is going to do the exact same thing. I'm just going way more fancy because I like to overcomplicate things. But I would probably try to experiment with something like that, where if I want to get a little bit more drive and mid-range out of the top frequency elements to get a little bit more excitement, and then I would probably try some parallel distortion in that range and just mix that in. And so again, this is just looking at the track, deriving some information, getting some ideas on things that I can add to my toolbox as a producer that I can add to my tracks, and some of them are going to work, some of them are not going to work. The ones that do work, I'm going to remember and reuse for sure. All right, and so then let's just also check out kind of other technical information here. So this is now looking at the loudness. So it seems to be kind of hovering around negative 7.5 LUFS, loud units full scale. I always look at the short term in the drop, because it just resets quickly, and I get a good idea of how loud it is. So that's very typical. 7.5 is a very safe kind of level to hover around. Is loud enough. Some people like Camel Fat or Solardo, since they have so much bass presence. Well, Camel Fat not so much, but definitely Solardo. Their tracks are a lot louder, because of that constant bass energy. So if I do the same analysis on, for example, a Solardo track, where are you? Where's Solardo? Solardo. Let's just do on the corner here. There's a better mix than Tribesman. Way better. Oh, come on. Okay. So let's turn off the warp. And if we do the same, and actually, let's turn the warp back on. Let's do transient forward. Cool. And so if we do the same analysis here on the Solardo track, we're going to see that the short-term loudness units are a lot louder, and that's primarily because of the bass. The bass is way more present, and we can look at that too in this Solardo track. So let's get that over here. All right, and so we'll go ahead and solo this. And so right here we can see that the Patrick Topping track is sitting at 65 hertz in the low end, and so that's like right around here. And Solardo's is much deeper. That's a significant difference in the low end, and so they're sitting around they're sitting around F sharp here, but look at how loud that F sharp is. And so we're almost at -4. We're past -4. We're almost at -3. All right, and so when we look at the loudness units here, we're going to see this much louder. So it's not crazy louder. It's a half a dB louder than the average value of Patrick Topping's track. But I think it does get louder, like maybe in... So we're almost a dB louder. So, you know, that's primarily because of the bass frequencies. But so that's a safe level to be at, -7.5. Can't argue with that. Even -8.5, that's a little more on the quiet side of things that I've seen. But, okay, and so what about the RMS? RMS and loudness units are very similar to each other, but they're slightly different in their calculations, so we can get actually some pretty big differences sometimes. So -9. -9 is a decent level to sit at. When you get down into like the -7, it's a little bit crushed, but -9 is a good level to sit at, so that's cool. It's just giving me technical benchmarks to kind of go for. And so if I'm arranging a track similarly, then I should, in theory, hit these benchmarks the same. And if I'm not, then there might be something getting in the way, and so that gives me technical problems to solve within the kind of individual elements or within the groups that I have for processing. And then here we can get a picture of the dynamic range. So this is actually a pretty big dynamic range. I mean, it's 5 here with the BX, but typically I'll see things go into just above -4, so getting into the high -3s. That's something I'll see a lot. So this is around -5. Or not -5, it's calculating, there's 5 dBs of dynamic range here. And as you can see, this is giving us a different RMS reading than the Voxengo. But it's just understanding what the different meters are telling you. But again, this is just me analyzing the technical benchmarks, and I'm not seeing anything that's crazy or out of the ordinary here. And so my workflow is set up to kind of already have these technical kind of things taken care of when I set levels and the processing that I do. So I know that if I was going to make a track similar to this, I wouldn't really have any issues because the workflow would kind of already generate these kinds of levels. And so one thing I like to do though is look at the waveform here. That is kind of similar to the spectrogram, because I could see the transient information relative to the sustain. So we can see how punchy these sounds are. I mean, this kick is about a 16th note long, and it takes over the full 16th. It is a block, a brick at the 16th. Then we get this huge open space. Now what that's gonna, for the next 16th. Now what that's gonna do is it's gonna make the mix feel super punchy. And even right here with the hi-hat, we can see, look at how soft this bass is. This is the bass notes right here. But we get these super punchy sounds. So it's boom, 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 boom. Really, really interesting. And sometimes these are going to show the same, give me the same picture, but over here, I'm not really quite getting the same picture because that mid-range top section is very sloshy, and so just kind of this matte of mid-range and high-frequency information. But I do see that the hi-hat right here, you can see it's starting to get into the yellow. That is indicative of this kind of transient right here. And then we can obviously see the huge block down here at the bottom with it, which is the kick. And so what this is telling me is when I'm selecting sounds and then when I'm processing sounds is focus on the first and third transient. Get strong transients for the beats, for the one end of the beats, for the just for the 8th note subdivisions. You want to have strong transients, and then let it open up for the back end, for those for the back end 16th. And it's crazy because that synth, you think it's loud, but technically it's not loud, because if that synth was really loud, it would be filling out this whole section right here and right here. And so what makes it sound loud is that you have that strong transient, bump, 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 bump. And it's very quick, it's very punchy, just like the other sounds in the track, but it's the reverb, which is quiet, but it gives it a big presence. And so you have the transient, the strong transient, which makes it appear loud and exciting, and then you have the reverb, which makes it seem even bigger, even though it's really not. And the reverb it sounds distorted and textural and not bright, but definitely kind of in the mid-range, very rich in the mid-range. So probably distorted. just to give it some presence, maybe some upward compression to bring up that texture and presence. Anyway, but these are all things that, I'm sorry if this video seems rambling, but these are all things that I'm literally thinking to myself as I'm looking at this track, and they're all just giving me ideas to try. And so, okay, so we looked at the music, we looked at some technical information, which was all fascinating, and now I'm just going to get into building the template, all right? And so this is just literally going 8 by 8 and seeing what we could do and seeing what elements there are. All right, so let's go ahead and start this. So I'm just going to cycle around here 8 bars. So obviously what we have is we have kick. And so what I'm going to do is just label this high pass, HP for high pass. Then we have the open hat. And then there's a little variation on the hat. So what I'm going to do is draw that in. So here we go. So this is, let's just do 16th notes. And then we just have a little 16th note thing. We can see that obviously right here in the waveform. All right, and then so what we'll do is go ahead and just loop this. All right, and so that's that. It's just I want to make sure that the variation is there. And so we have this 16th note. It might be part of the open hat loop, but there's several things contributing to that 16th note. There's this weird, I don't even know how to describe it. I guess maybe I could use an EQ to try to find it. But there's a lot of things contributing to that. Listen to right there. Maybe if I just play the side information, you'll be able to hear what I'm talking about. But okay, so there's a... Obviously there's a closed hat, so let's just draw that closed hat. It's in the same space as the open hat, and I suspect it's part of the same loop, but whatever. So closed hat, 16th. And you can hear the velocity on that, so let's change this to 16ths. And so so the velocity is kind of like this. Oh. I did not know where this was. Okay, so kind of just going like that. And so what we'll do is we'll loop this. And then we have this that kind of tonal percussion around 650 hertz, I think, and that's playing 16ths. And it's the exact same thing. And obviously there's some kind of like room verb on the kick transient. That's why you hear that ch, 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 ch. There's also this, I can't describe it. It's like this gnarly. It might just be some kind of delay effect. But it does sound a little wide. That's why I thought on the sides, listening to the side information would isolate it. All right, moving into the next part, probably the same thing. Some kind of textural loop. So we're going to call this iconic texture loop, because it plays throughout the whole song, and it definitely helps define this song. All right, and so this creeps up. So we'll say gains up to be more precise. And it happens over the course of an eighth note. All right, I think that's good. Let's move on. All right, so I'm just gonna write this down. We need to do a macro map. Okay, that's gonna be later after we get through all the nuts and bolts and details of the track. We're gonna try to figure out what's the story of the track. All right. How does this track unfold? What kind of story is it trying to tell? And you can think of the iconic loop, texture loop, kind of has two parts to it. It has that vocally, but it also has this kind of industrial grainy wow, 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 wow. So maybe we could just add this to the notes. Oh, there we go. It's like, what the heck? Okay, so two parts. Actually, what I'll do is let's group this, and then I'm going to copy this. And so this will be, just duplicate this because it's the same thing. And then this doesn't gain up anymore, it's already present. And then so this is like the vocal, and it kind of just goes up, down, up, down. I don't know how to describe this sound. Some kind of like churning mechanical sound. But those always play together, so I'm just going to group them like that. And yeah. Okay, what's next? And I'm just going to go ahead and start kind of coloring these the way that I like to color things. So all right, now let's move on. Oh, and then this is not high passed anymore. This is full kick. Okay. Okay, so let's just move everything over. So this is high passed. Obviously we get the bass, so bass, and but it's high passed, and we already know what the bass line is, so we might as well draw it out. Anyway. And so we could, I am going to create maybe like an edit map so we can keep track of the weird little things that happen. But for these sounds, let's go ahead and create their own track. So, bow. All right, and then we get the scream. Come in right here. It's interesting. It sounds kind of like a bandpass where the resonant points are kind of converging. Because the bottom is going up and the top is going down. Boom, bow. So they kind of just sound like they're kind of converging like that. Let's just call this resonant synth or something, synth effect. So, and scream. So this gains up. Let's go ahead and just draw this in. Kind of stops around there, so maybe we could just draw it like that. But it seems to happen right here. And obviously we get the synth, and it mimics the bass. So what we can do is just take the bass MIDI that we have here. Maybe we'll just, for good measure, pop it up an octave just to keep it separate. So this is going to go down here. Okay. Okay, so coming into the next part. All right, let's go ahead and push everything over. Make sure. So this has a filter with a faster decay here. It's like a 16th, a dotted 16th. Or maybe a 16th note delay on that synth. It might be a dotted 16th or a 16th note delay on the synth. So filter opens. Filter opens and lets through the distortion and the white noise. Obviously we have a new vocal here. So these are separate tracks. Obviously, I'm going to keep them separate because they're separate arrangement elements, but the processing, like the mix of them, they might all be on the same track. And so that's something to kind of keep in mind. But I do want to separate them here. Actually, you know what? Let me not do that. Let me actually keep them all on the same track, because I don't think there's too much overlap and between the vocals. And what I could do is just kind of describe them here. So this is just the scream, and so I'll label it, and then I will kind of describe what's going on. This is kind of more of a verse feel. So let's go ahead and verse. Just seeing if there's any change in the drum elements. All right, cool. I think we can move on from here. Now the bass and the synth have the same kind of stuttering effect, and it made me kind of suspect initially that the bass was a sample, or it goes dun 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 dun. And so what I was thinking is that the dun dun dun, it wasn't individual notes, but actually the sample looping around, because it was a shorter sample and then it's looped. But now I hear that the synth is doing the exact same thing with the dun dun dun. Now that's either achieved with a delay, dun dun dun, 1 and 2, and so an 8th note delay, or softer notes with softer velocity. I'm not going to worry about that. That's a detail that is kind of beyond this point, I think. So it's just an interesting thing about what's going on. There is a parallel kind of thing going on with the bass and the synth. All right, so let's just see if there is anything different here. So I'm just going to kind of copy this section, move it over here. I suspect it's only going to be a really difference in the synth. So let's get a utility plugin and flip the phase here. Okay, so yeah, it looks like it's just the synths there that are different, just opening up. And so let's move on. All right, there we go. Okay. Scream, and then there's a metallic kind of delay on there. That's really cool. Just want to hear if those textures are coming through. Let's drop this down with the effects. I think I can kind of hear them right here. I mean, there's no really any reason to take them out. They're not taking up very much space in the mix. Kind of an unnecessary detail. Is that the same scream as over here? Yeah, pretty much. And so now we get the full bass and we get the full kick. Let's see if there's any hi-hat lifts. Nope, pretty much straight on. All right, so there's an edit. So that happens right after 8 bars, so that's an interesting thing right there. So here we have one way to kind of accent this 8 bars is to have this scream over the top of it. That's when everything drops. And then so what the question is, well, how are we going to accent the next 8 bars? And so what happens is we have this anticipation effect. That kind of live sounding the snare without kind of the snare, if that makes sense, where you disengage the snare on the snare, so it's just the drum. It's a fast rhythm which creates anticipation, and then we get the crash cymbal. And then we need an exit for the crash cymbal, so we get that bow, that kind of resonant synth effect. All right, so effects are always happening in 3, and so we have the trifecta. And so let's go ahead, and so we have the snare drum without snare drum. We'll call that the snare drum. And it has a little bit of top information on there, but we'll go ahead and color that guy right there. And so let's just color in the what's going on here. So it's just playing right here. Six. So it's just playing this. Okay, and then we get that cool crash thing. Crash and stutter. And so what do I mean by stutter? That brrr, that's the stutter. So we'll go ahead and we'll put the stutter in right there. I'm just indicating that these are different. All right, so we have that, and then we're going to get this thing again right here, the resonant synth effect. play through the whole thing right there. Okay, cool. Everything else is pretty much the same, so we could just copy that over. We don't have the scream. All right, and so we get the creeping vocal again. So that's from right over here. Go ahead and legato all these guys. Okay. So obviously we have that resonant synth again right here. And so this is obviously a programmed sound because of what Patrick Topping does right here, which is pitch bend the sustain. And so what we're going to do is we're going to pitch bend sustain up and wobble. It also wobbles. And so what happens here is we get the stutter effect that kind of just carries out. Let's just go ahead and kind of do this. The stutter effect kind of just glitches at the end. And so the higher feedback on whatever that is. So if there's probably a delay on there, and so it could be done with you just take the audio and just chop it up, or there might be a delay on there and you just increase the feedback. And then of course we have the snare drum fill. I like how these effects are used, but they're not used in a predictable way. Ostensibly, maybe there is an underlying pattern we can unlock, but right now it just they don't seem to. For example, like this snare drum thing anticipates this crash and flutter thing right here, but it doesn't over here. It's just part of this extra little variation that's done on the crash and stutter, which is cool. All right, so let's flesh out the arrangement here. We could probably just copy most of this stuff over. And iconic texture loop, we're going to move this up here because I can just copy it over with everything that seems to be a little bit more regular. And so do we have the vocal right here? And so this, ooh, okay. So I'm just going to add a little thing on here, and it's going to say OTB. OTB stands for over the bar, and so probably over here too. OTB, and so there's an effect that goes over the bar, and so that's a way that you can make your track seem a little bit more seamless because you're removing the seams. You're you're removing the seams of the frameworks of a dance track, which tend to be about 8 bars. Definitely in this track, the frameworks are 8 bars. And so when you carry something over the bar, it removes that seam and it makes the track seem a little bit more continuous. So let's obviously add I don't know what you're saying, something about chained in heaven. Whatever. Obviously this is now gone, the resonant effect. Let's also legato that out. And so later on in this song it goes, chained in heaven time. And so what he's doing right now is anticipating that later moment, which is cool. Because you're getting the tension built by this repetition, and then later on you're going to get the resolution of the full phrase. And so it's just another way of creating tension by not giving everything at once, and not giving it. Holding back is one way of creating tension, but then also repeating that holding back. Now there's this rising brant, 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 brant right here. I don't know if that's an existing element that's gaining up and being sent out into kind of a slight reverb, but let's just treat it as a separate element here. So I'm just going to call this like rattle effect. And so this gains up. Verbs and gains and verbs up, meaning it goes into a reverb. It seems like it. Now, I think I hear like a crowd noise that's added. You know what? That might be part of the loop, though, the vocal loop. I think it is because it gets repeated in this exact same way that the vocal does. So I'm just wondering, should I add a track here that says kind of a crowd effect? And why? I mean, it does add something texturally to the track, even distinct from what the vocal adds. It does serve. Maybe we'll just kind of pass over it. So we'll do half. Half, and then we'll copy this over. And then we'll extend this out here like this. And so we'll do a full. And again, remember what this is doing is setting up the resolution of this over here. And so this is something that happens a lot, right? Where you repeat something 3 times and then there's a variation on the 4th. And so this is exactly an example of that. But it's a great example because you're holding back, holding back, holding back, and then you get the resolution. So it's like call, 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 response. Oh, okay. So I was kind of wrong. I was right and wrong. So what I was saying is that later on he's gonna play the full vocal, but I didn't realize earlier on he already gave you the full vocal, and so the reason why this creates tension is because we've already heard the full vocal, which is back here. And so when we have heard it twice, we've heard it here, we've heard it here, then when we get to here, we're expecting it to resolve like it did in these first two, but it doesn't. It repeats the first part, the call. It repeats it again and then over again, and then we get the resolution here. And so that's really smart. That's really cool. Okay. So what was I doing? I don't know what I was doing, so let's just keep going. Oh, you know what? I wanted to see what was going on. So this is verse. So let's change this to chained in heaven. Okay. So I'm going to pull this out. So let's just, I'm going to rename this really quick. So these aren't full, these are all just partial. So maybe we'll just call these partials. You know, so, and then I can drop this over here. And so these are all partial. And then but I think it's important because what he's using this whole kind of really intense verse, and he's just kind of teasing it. He's teasing it this whole time. And so that's why, you know what, instead of partial, let's call it tease, because that's kind of more related to, I guess it's like a arrangement function. So yeah, that's better. Okay. Its function in the arrangement. Okay, and obviously what we need to do is this is high pass and this is also high pass. And let's go ahead and okay. All right, so we're definitely going to add in a crowd here, because that's a deliberate and explicit attempt to create excitement. So and so this interacts with the vocal. Let's just say it's in vocal gap. All right. So now that might actually be part of the vocal, because it only makes sense, right? So if you're in like a church and you're watching this lady sing, let's see how long this is. If you're watching this lady sing, and then she's doing this crazy thing, and then there's a space, people are going to clap, and then she starts singing again. Oh, we stop clapping. Oh, she's doing something crazy again. Oh, we can clap, you know. That's kind of what this feels like. So it might actually be part of the original, but it sounds really unnatural in how it gains down so quickly. All right, so it could be sidechained. It sounds more like automation. And so just making more space for that vocal, filling the gap with excitement. And then we get that exciting vocal again, filling the gap with the crowd excitement. So, and then we're going to get some cool vocal effects going on over here to continue that excitement. And so the drums are still exactly the same. This is fascinating. How many tracks do we have here? Like less than 20? Dude, so efficient. I think I caught that he's sneaking in the synth, maybe. Maybe not. I don't know, there's some distortion that happens on top of those kicks that sound a lot like the synth. Oh man, I think that there is a hint of that synth underneath here. I need to kind of just a hint, question mark? Okay. All right, so check that out. So we get this nice so we do this like verb out on the second time, and I don't mean second time. That's kind of has a double meaning there. Use and mention distinction applies both. Oh, nice. We get that clap when that... Well, talk about restraint. Just a hint on downbeats, on beats. Can you hear it though? There's this like woolly texture that just sits right on top of the beats. Whoa, whoa. And so this is the Nowt chants. Nowt. So... Wow, that was the first edit that we got. And the reason why is because I guarantee I think the next thing that comes is the bum, 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 bum. So just a huge moment that creates, I bet. And that not. Let's figure out what that note is. She's just singing G sharp. No, she's singing F sharp, F sharp. She's singing a tension tone. That is so amazing. Okay, so this is what's cool. Is she's singing an F sharp. We're in the key of G sharp minor. And now, if you were in a major key, the 7th scale degree is going to be called the leading tone, which has like one of the strongest pulls back to the tonic, so 7-1. And so in a minor key, it's not as extreme, but you just get this dominant, this 1-7 just playing together, because basically the bass line's just sitting at the tonic. You get that momentary jump to the 4th scale degree, the subdominant, but then you get this kind of chord that just plays. And let me just kind of show you what that means and why it creates so much tension. So we get the bass is this basically functioning as a pedal tone for the track, just solidifying the key at G minor, just playing G minor. Well, again, a momentary jump. And then you have the knot with this repetitive and energetic performance from the vocalist singing the 7th scale degree way up high. And so it creates this crazy tension. Then we're going to get the edit at the end. The edit at the end, and so when we finally get that synth, it's just an explosion. It's a crazy moment. Now, I haven't heard this song in the club, but I bet that just fucking goes crazy. And then now we get the clap too. I mean, we get the clap right here, boom, ba, boom, ba, which is interesting. You could probably save that. No, I don't know, but I was gonna say for this, save that for that section, because then you get that kind of extra oomph when it lands on here. But it feels really good here too, because it kind of interacts with the not. Oh, we need to add that in though, don't we? So let's so we get the clap. And then what we'll do is I just want to show you what that's kind of going on here. We just go get contact or something. So what's happening is that you're just playing the 1 and 7 scale degree together at the same time. So so let me just show you. So here we go. So this is G. Oh, I don't think that. Damn it! The keyboard's not plugged in. Whatever. I'll just draw it in here. So we have the G sharp. And then we have, so here we have G sharp, and the 7th scale degree is right here, 7. So let me play the octaves here, so you can get a sense of how consonant those are. And then we're going to drop it down to the 7th. And let me turn this off so you can't hear it right away, so it doesn't give it away. And then you'll hear how you get this tension. So here we go. And then, you know what, let's cycle back around so you can hear the resolution. And so you'll hear the resolution from this F sharp going back up to the G sharp when we cycle around. It feels like it resolves. See, so imagine playing this tension for the 8 bars. All right, well, let's just play it like this. And then you'll really feel the resolution when we finally circle around here, because this is just going to be playing for so long, creating so much tension. Okay, there we go. Right? Okay, so that's an introduction to kind of how you can use tension or notes and pitches and harmony to create tension and then resolve that tension. And so where does it resolve to? Where does this 1/7 tension resolve to? Well, what happens when the synth comes in? What gets played? The synth plays exactly what the bass is playing, which is that strong tonic kind of pedal, basically. Pedal just means it just stays on one note in a way. And then that strong tonic with a momentary jump to the 4th scale degree, but it basically resolves right where it needs to resolve, which is to the tonic. And in that big moment, in that really big moment here with that tension being created, then we get the small edit, which is the first major edit we get in the whole track, really just takes us back for a second, and then bam. So there's so many points of resolution that happen right here, which is we get the synth, which is the biggest element in the track, the most exciting element of the track. We resolve the tension from the that chick singing, which is a 7th scale degree, but it's also just repeating for 8 bars. And we also get the resolution from that first edit that we have in the entire track. It just pulls everything back, and then bam, we get the maximum impact. And so, you know, I hope I'm not making it sound complicated, because it's not complicated. It's using very basic ideas in an extremely efficient and powerful and effective way. And so, I mean, there's only really 3 things that are all contributing to the intensity of this moment right here. Right here. And it's not even that crazy. It probably gets crazier later on, but it is a big moment that gets created right here. And those are kind of 3 things that are contributing to that fact. And so what we'll do is let's just create a little edit map here. We can hear a little bit of some room reverb from the kick on there. So what we'll do is just, there's a lower room reverb, and it seems like there's a higher room reverb as well on the kick. So we have a kick, ambience, clap, and we have not. So let's just say like everything cuts, but everything cuts, and then we'll say only kick, ambience, the clap, and then the not. Okay, cool. And then, let's see, lead synth. Okay. So we have some interesting filter movement and stuff going on over here. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, so it opens, let's just kind of group these down into smaller, let's see, filter. Opens opens on 4th bar. We'll just say that. I was going to include the function. Okay, so filter on 2nd bar. And so you can see it's getting more excited closer to the end. So here we wait, and then bam, right here we get that excitement. And then it's like the filter can't even wait, the synth can't even wait, it has to get excited again even sooner in this next kind of 4-bar segment. And so just to kind of emphasize that, let's color this. Let's make this red for excitement, and then we'll do this too. All right, and just let's kind of go through the arrangement elements. Do we have the iconic texture loop? Yeah, we do. So let's copy this over. It's been missing. Resonant, snare drum, crash and stutter, rattle effect, crowd. Okay. Okay. So let's bring this over. And actually what we can do here is kind of mimic what the filter is doing. So we can just go get one. All right, so we'll just go ahead and automate this, and let's listen back from around over here. Actually, I guess we can go further back. So it's just opening up a little bit over there, you know. So, all right, so yeah, it's pretty much slowly opening up, you know. All right. So this is like, I'm not 100% sure on this, so I'm just gonna color this like white. But we'll go ahead and just automate this down, and then let's see, we'll just go ahead and go like this. And so just a kind of quick little automation there. Kind of get a little automation. It's almost like a nice little roll off too, kind of like that. And so it sounds like not only is the filter opening, but it sounds like maybe the decay is lengthening as well. So that's something to keep in mind. And so when looking at this auto filter frequency, yes, the filter cutoff is opening, but I'd also pay attention. But this is more indicative of what the emotion is creating. It's just this opening. And what I would do is just also play with other things like increasing the release, increasing the decay, or maybe, yeah, I mean the cutoff, the decay, maybe the distortion level or something like that. I'm going to close my door real quick. Yeah, but that's the idea. And then moving on here, let's see what's next. All right, so we get a tiny little edit right here. Very cute. And so this is just, I'm just going to write like kick cut pretty much. Kick cut. All right, cool. So we got that crowd effect back. So now we're getting a lot more interesting and kind of chaotic vocal effects, which is always fun. Let's go ahead and move these crowd noises over here. And so has that vocal come up yet? So, well, I'm stuck. So we get the chance. It doesn't seem like... Okay, so cool. So what we have is a new vocal here, so that's cool. What else have we called? So, okay, so we're just naming these verses by kind of what the lyrics are. So we'll call this one Stuck or something like that. So we have Stuck. All right, so let's kind of, so there's delay. And then what else? So this is just kind of like interesting delays. We'll just write that. Interesting delays to fill gaps. That's kind of what's going on here. And it seems like maybe they're manual delays, like just kind of messing with them, or weird delay throws. It seems manual. See just how the delay rates change. So interesting delays, mess with delay rates. And vibe off the energy for the rates, right? So if you feel like, oh, this needs to be higher energy or this could be lower energy, it's crazy how much you can manipulate the energy level just by changing these things. And so that's what's going on here. And so same thing, we just get a nice little edit right here again. All right, cool. Wait. Okay, so there's, I thought I heard the synth, but it's OTB. Opens on the 4th bar. Okay, and I also just want to write OTB because it's going to go over into the next bar here. All right, so let's keep on moving along, chugging along here. I just zoomed out for a second to see where we are because the vocals are really energetic here, and so this is indicating that it might be kind of like the climax area of the song. So I'm just going to skip ahead. Let's check out what the vocals are doing over here. All right. So this is where we kind of get some crazy stuff going on. Listen to the energy right there, right? Okay. All right. So that's cool. So right here, what's happening is we're getting this this high energy. I'm actually kind of looking at the macro, the kind of story right now, but we have these energetic parts in the vocal. And so later on, we're going to get these energetic vocals right here too. But there needs to be some kind of lift to differentiate this from here. And what Patrick Topping is doing is it seems he's trying to increase the energy kind of actually towards the end. Now, you could have done that over here too if you wanted the energy to kind of climax over here and the song to kind of slowly fade back out in the second half. But it seems like he wants to increase the energy here, and then you just go into the intro or the outro. So that's like the craziest moment that I've heard yet. And then that goes into the synth, the catchy part. Opening it up. So there's a lot of things going on right here in this section. Then we go into a break. All right, and things start to settle because we get into the outro. So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself and looking at the story, but I was just curious because I wanted to see what the vocals were like, because I was wondering if this was the climax of the song right here, because it's pretty crazy with the vocals. So obviously, let's go ahead and move these over. And I always forget about this little iconic kind of percussion thing. So I think I'm just going to carry this over because it seems like it's part of the same vocal. All right, so we got to carry this over. It's just a really natural way of going about things, having these crowds kind of interact with the vocal, because that's exactly what would happen live. And you feel the excitement from that kind of social dynamic, that social kind of emotion. It's crazy how this is kind of just reminds me of like the way that I look at tech house tracks. Tech house tracks are simple in their fundamental like arrangement. Think of it that way. You have the top and the bottom grooves. You have your hi-hat groove. This has a clear hi-hat groove with the 16th shaker, not shaker, but like closed hat. But the open hat has a definite pattern. It just goes off, 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 and a, off, 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 and a. And then you have the low end groove, which is just the simple kick and the bass. The bass is so simple, bum, 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 bum. So you have these two, the high groove, the low groove, and then it's all about the middle. That's where like these tracks really distinguish themselves from one another, is how the mid-range is treated. Obviously, the samples that are chosen give character and identity to the sound. Like Patrick Topping's using these gritty kind of textures in the bass, the kick. The kick has a great transient. It's a live sounding, sounds like a sample. It's got a great smack to it, and then the hats are crunchy. And so obviously his sonic choices are really giving identity to the track, but it's really the mid-range interest points that really separate all these tracks, and it's just wide open for this crazy vocal to just take on full reign. And when I started down this rant, what made me think of this was that you could just analyze it so simply, like you have the top and the bottom groove, and then you just fill the middle, and that's how you can kind of separate out a tech house track in a really general way. Do you have the top groove? Do you have the bottom groove? Now what's going to occupy the mid-range? And so the choice here was to have this really, really good vocal. It's so emotionally powerful. It's also catchy and immediately recognizable, and definitely something that people would gravitate towards when they're just listening just for fun or on the dance floor. Like the energy that gets translated is really crazy. And another thing I was thinking is that there's no variation. I mean, sometimes in the tops groove, you'll have tops lifts, like you'll have new shakers come in, you'll have new hi-hats come in, you'll have ride cymbals and all that stuff come in to help kind of lift the energy and push the track higher energy-wise in the top range and the high-end range. And then maybe you'll have some things going on the low end. But this track is very static in the stage, and so I call that the stage, where you have the top groove, the bottom groove, and kind of the mid-range elements that just contribute to the vibe. That's the stage, the top groove, bottom groove, and then the vibe kind of in the middle with some percussion motifs and stuff like that. And then, so you have the stage, and then you have like the actors. The actors are the mid-range guys that come in and steal the attention, steal the spotlight, like this chick. I mean, this is just such a great, just imagine this girl on the stage. The stage is all the background music, and then she's just taking the spotlight with that performance. And so this is a great track for just kind of conveying what I mean when I'm analyzing the general aspects of a tech house arrangement, where you have the stage, which is the vibe and the groove, and then you have the mid-range interest points. And what's so great about this track is that everything is so strong that it doesn't require that much change, that much variation. The groove, the vibe is pretty much constant throughout the whole track. Occasionally you'll take the low end out, and then you have the smallest little edits where you just take out a kick, and that's it. That's all that's needed, which is incredible. It just there's a lot of detail pay and time invested into creating that strong vibe that can just carry the track all the way through, and just so that this other vocal can sit on top of it and primarily contribute to the interest and the variation across the track. And so a bit of a rant and bit of gushing, but the reason why I'm kind of passionate about this right now is because it takes confidence to do something like that in yourself as a producer, and just to have this static kind of stage, this static vibe across the entire track with minimal variation. But when you do have the variation, it's extremely effective, and it's so easy as a producer to add something. It's so easy to do something more, to complicate, and it's much harder to kind of exercise restraint and just let the vibe get carried and make sure that the vibe is right, and then just make sure that the vibe is strong, and then the counterpart to the vibe, make sure that the interest point is strong. So if you have a strong vibe, if you have a strong kind of mid-range interest point, then you're good, you're golden. And this just really reinforces that idea. And yeah, it just kind of pisses me off because it's a lot easier than it's a lot harder than it sounds. I think. Okay, cool. So then we get that kind of resonating synth effect over here. Check it out. Is it right over here? Okay, so things are actually kind of starting to settle down. So that kind of means we're anticipating a break over here. A break is coming up, which it is. So I think we have a new vocal here now. I'm gonna go ahead and cut that guy off right here, and then we'll create a new vocal. Let's start copying this over, and all these guys, we'll copy them over. So a vocal with more congregation, and now this might not be 100% accurate, but the fact that now that the low end is gone, it opens it up a little bit more to letting a kind of choir come through in a more audible way. It also just fills out the space of the vocal of the mix a little bit more too. So vocal, let's listen to the lyrics. So this kind of encourages crowd participation too in the break section. So in the drops, everyone's all dancing and stuff, but in the breaks, that's where I guess a DJ could really like interact. And so this is with the congregation. It's almost like the lead singer is the DJ, and then the congregation that's singing here in the vocal is the crowd. And so it's kind of referencing the potential interaction in the club, or in the club, between the DJ and the crowd. And so we definitely have the Nowt. So let's just duplicate this vocal down, and just because we have the Nowt here. Let's just go ahead and bring this. This isn't like this is just to keep the clarity here. So this is a choir, crowd participation, and filling out the mix. All right, so. And so one interesting thing is that we've had a couple breaks now. Here's a break, here's a break, now here's another break. But in order to really push the energy and the tension in this break, Patrick Topping has included these Nowt chants. It keeps the energy higher in this break. It doesn't bring us back down like the previous breaks. And so the energy is really high still coming out of this drop, and I think he just wants to keep it. I think this track would be really tiring in the club, although it would be awesome. So I was just listening to see if that kind of iconic texture loop was playing. It is there. I think it's just quiet, actually. So there it is. Whamp, 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 whamp. You can hear it right here. I wonder if that's quieter. It sounds quieter. We'll leave that alone. That's a little detail. So obviously this is high passed. This is high passed. And so we'll go ahead and. Notice how it's interesting. Look at all these effects right here. But there hasn't been very many effects after that. That's just curious. So I'm going to extend this out because it's kind of like the same part of the same loop. So that's playing resonant synth, the synth snare drum, crash and stutter. See, wouldn't you be so tempted to use more of these sounds? I would, but it's not. He's exercising restraint. Really cool. All right, really breaking things down here. That's cool. So let's see. I want to come over here. So I just wanted to hear if these sounds right here, the boom, I wanted to hear if that was actually part of the drum sound. It's definitely not part of that drum sound. I can't really hear it there, so I think these are just added in. That kind of nice low mid, I'm sure we can even see where it is. Like these guys right here. Not totally sure. Maybe it is kind of just a high passed and turned down version of the kick, or maybe it's just the reverb, like a kind of low reverb, giving a little bit of space. But I don't really hear it in the intro on just the basic beat, and I don't really hear it in the drop, so I think it might just be an addition. And so I also don't hear it when we're over here. Yeah, I think that's just an addition. So that's just a kick and a reverb. So I'm going to add that in here. So we're going to do like kick room. Kick with room verb. So we'll go ahead and it's also high pass, so I'm just going to leave that there. But I also think it's over here. So I'm going to bring this down. So it's high passed. So we'll just do that. Yeah, that's right. Just want to make sure the clap is actually going through. Okay, good. Clap is still going, so that's cool. Want to make sure that the tonal percussion here is still playing. Wah 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 wah. Wah 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 wah. Let's hear it. See if it's over here. It's hard to hear. It is just a really kind of more textural element. So I'm going to leave it in because there's really no reason to take it out because it's so quiet and it's just textural. It wouldn't really benefit the mix, I don't think. Okay, the open hat's still there, the 16th. Okay. The knot is still going. All right, so what we do is this is going to be gaining up. And the kick is gaining up too. Jeez, it just keeps on going. My God. There we go. Now we get some kind of effect. So HP, and then here I'm going to just do HP gaining up. Okay. You hear that crowd come in. Okay, it's definitely right there. Whatever, might as well just paste it across. It's just filling the gaps. Finally, another effect, something to add, right? It's kind of like a ride. It's kind of like a crash. So I'm just going to call it like a rising cymbal. Cymbal rising. I think these are most of these are just sounds sampled from like a track in that era. If it's not that track of the whatever she's singing, I don't know the song. Cymbal rising with verb on there. You know what? It also sounds like it's just a reverb on the open hat because I could hear the same pattern being applied. So just for the sake of simplicity, kind of, let's just say that this is verbing up. Oh my God! Just there we go. Jeez, verbing up. Okay, so. Really sloshy reverb, definitely distorted. So I don't know if this is really here anymore. Maybe we could just say this is like gaining down as the other one gains up. Who knows? You know what? Or I think it might come in here. So what an interesting way to introduce some more impact. So this is a kick with room verb, and these are on the downbeats. So downbeat is one of 1, 2, 3, 4. One of every bar. So beat one. All right. So I don't think that happens. I mean, the bass is obviously accenting the downbeats, but this is a new element, and so I think it carries over. I think I hear it in there. I could be going crazy, but I think it's there. The downbeat accent. And so this is going to be full. And then so. Sounds kind of like another sound, though. Sounds kind of like another sound. It sounds like there might be some kind of ride or cymbal behind it. So I'm just going to put like rising cymbal here too. Why not? Doesn't hurt anything. Is this a audio track? Yeah. So rising cymbal. All right, there we go. And we'll go ahead and go like that. Okay. Jeez. Right? Crazy. So I'm going to take crowd participation out because this is really just part of the vocal. It just goes on forever. And filling out the mix. Fascinating. Okay, let's see. Let's just check between these different drop sections. Not too much difference. I'm just listening to the kick primarily. Obviously, the filter opens up a little bit more on this one than where I was comparing it to. But let's go ahead and keep moving on. All right, cool. So let's see if there's a transition into that crash stutter thing. Not really. Okay. Pretty much it, right? All right, cool. And then we get the Nowt still going on, just still going. Crazy. Okay. Well, that's different. All right, let's check this out really quick. So this drop is a length of 20, and so maybe what happened is so we're just gonna do lots of like interesting. And then, so what happens is that this whole stretch of vocal probably ended around here. And then it's like, well, let's just have the synth come in, you know, instead of thinking, well, how can we extend it for another 4 bars? Just keep it simple, you know, let's have the synth come in next, you know. So, so I'm just seeing here, it looks like everything else can kind of, what the fuck? I was going to say, it looks like everything else can kind of be analyzed in terms of the new positioning, but the track ends with the 4-bar offset that happens over here, which happens a lot in like just classical music. Okay, anyway, so let's just keep going here. We're just gonna, I'm just gonna do this. I'm just gonna cut this, and then I'm gonna bring these guys, this over right here. Oh, come on. And then, so then it's kind of creating just a new kind of cycle point. And then we'll bring this over. So the filter's a little bit more open here. I'm not going to really indicate that anywhere, but okay, cool. So let's just hold this open pretty much. And I'm going to just drop it down a little bit because it seems like it kind of carries an intensity over here. So all right, let's push this over. And so this is now gone. I can't hear this, that kind of downbeat accent. You can hear how this track is really slamming the limiter. It gets really crunchy right here. Right here. That's a lot of cool things. That's when you create a textural track that has a lot of grit, it's fun to slam the limiter because then you get an extra level of distortion, a kind of a mixed level distortion. Oh, nice. Now we get some high passing, so that's a different kind of thing. So we enter into another break though. So this is obviously high passed, and this is high passed. Alright, so let's move these crowds over because we get the crowds. So let's just say high passing. So it kind of opens up as well right here. Yeah, so this is a new vocal. I don't know if you don't feel me. I'm not sure. And so these are obviously, these are high passing as well. So what I mean by high passing, that means that they're going up. The filter is taking out the low end. And we can check that out actually. Let's just check out this last part right here. So things are filtering up to like around 300. Anyway, all right, cool. And so things are high passing up, and then let's keep it going. All right, so we get all the usual suspects here. And I think that there is that downbeat accent. You can hear it here. I'm just going to leave it in because I think it's cool. Let me just see if it's over here too. It's kind of hard to tell with the synth there. It might be over there too. I'm not 100% sure. One thing we could do though is maybe just put it in the drop sections. Okay, so what do we have? We need to bring over the iconic percussion. So there we go. And so we have the kick, we have the downbeat accent, we have the bass. And let's go to where the clap comes in. So definitely the clap is not there, and definitely the clap is here. You just get that little crunch on the weak beats. And so this is OTB at the end because it goes over. So we can definitely hear the wham wham wham, that iconic percussion loop there. Let's see. All right. Okay. And we need that crash and stutter right here. I almost hear a shaker. Yeah, there might be a shaker that sits on top of all this too. No, it's there in the beginning too. Okay. So there might be a shaker that sits on top too. So this closed 16th hat's kind of just interacting with the open hat. But then this is a shaker that just kind of sits on top of both of them. It's not too high frequency. It's just present, probably around like the 7 to 10K. All right, so let's go ahead and duplicate all this over and take out the not chants because they go away. Now, it might be crazy, but I do think there is a downbeat accent. I know I'm obsessing about this, but... yeah, there is, I think, something behind there that is just pushing that out a little bit. I think it's just that kind of tonal reverb. Clap, open hat. I do hear two levels to the high frequency syncopation. I hear that closed hat that's kind of going in between the open hat, and then I do hear that little shaker that's sitting on top of both of those elements. All right. So we have the high pass kick. We have the high pass. And we have that interesting kind of resonant synth that wobbles. So kind of like this one. So let's move these over. And then we need to move this over. Okay, so this just continues. All right, go ahead and legato that. And then these guys, we can continue them over. And there you go. All right, and looking back on this, like obviously I'm going to learn what I learned from doing it, and you're going to learn whatever you learn from watching it. But the takeaways that I get are just the importance of focusing on creating a strong vibe and a strong mid-range interest point. Like if both of them, if you can care about both of them, if you can care about both of them, like, yeah, the vibe is sick. Yeah, the mid-range stuff, the interesting things that come in, the vocals, or maybe it's a synth. In this case, it's a vocal and a synth. Or sometimes in other tracks, it's just like this interesting percussion texture that's created. Like, if those are all cool, I mean, that's it. Like, I mean, it's really just reminds you to focus on the big stuff, the macros. And it's so easy for me to get caught up in the details, and I'm in the middle of the synthetic tutorial right now, and I have to mix the track, and that's all I'm focused on. That's all I care about. And so this just kind of reminds me to take a step back. It's nothing crazy, but it is like, are the things that you're putting in the track, are they cool? Do you like them? Do they resonate? Are they compelling? Do you think other people will like them? Are you having fun while you're doing it? Like, could you imagine how much fun it would be to make this track? And it's just a refocusing on that kind of perspective when you're producing. It's just you're trying to make cool shit. And so remember that when you're adding things into your track, or when you're processing things, are you making it cooler? Are you making it something that people can connect to, that you can connect to? And it's kind of like, flowery kind of advice, but it is what it is. That's the takeaway that I get from this track. I mean, I don't really take anything away from it mixing wise. The track is so simple in its arrangement that it practically mixes itself if you just set the right levels. I mean, maybe a few EQing things here and there, definitely lots of use of distortion, but that can occur at the sound design production stage. Mixing wise, you know, it's just set the right level here. That's ultimately the game. And then there might be some subtle automations here and there that kind of moving, for example, the iconic texture loop down a little bit, just giving a little bit more room to things here and there. But everything is pretty much static, and the dynamics are coming from the performance of the vocal, and that's really it. That's really it. But I hope that was helpful. This was the first one, so if there's anything that you have questions, obviously leave it in the comments. If there's things that I can improve upon in these kind of videos, let me know. Yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoy it, and let me know. See you in the next one.